All right, today we're diving into a really profound guide to living a meaningful life, straight from the Bhagavad Gita. And it tackles this fundamental question, a tension that I think we all grapple with pretty much every single day. And here it is. This is the core dilemma that kicks off the whole chapter. Should you lean into the world, your job, your family, all your responsibilities? Or do you need to step back from everything to find real, lasting peace? It's that classic tug of war between engaging with life and retreating from it. And I'm sure you've felt that pull in your own life. And what's amazing is that the text gives a surprisingly direct answer. It says, look, both paths can get you to the ultimate goal, but the path of selfless action is actually considered superior. This one idea, this is the key that unlocks this entire chapter. So let's unpack what that really means. Okay, so right out of the gate, the chapter just completely redefines what it even means to be a spiritual person, a yogi. It totally challenges that stereotypical picture we might have of someone who has just walked away from the world. This right here, this is the very first verse of the chapter, and it lays the entire foundation for this whole philosophy. Lord Krishna offers a brand new, way more profound definition of what a true renouncer really is. Just let that sink in for a moment. A true yogi isn't someone who's stopped doing things. Nope, it's the person who performs their duty, what the text calls their karyam karma, without getting all wrapped up in the results, whether they succeed or fail. So here's the crucial part. The yogi of action finds this incredible inner balance. They do what needs to be done just because it's their duty, and they stay steady. It doesn't matter if the outcome is praise or criticism, profit or loss. They're contributing to the world without needing anything back from it. And this chart just lays it out so clearly. On the left, you've got the Gita's ideal, someone acting selflessly for the good of everyone. But on the right, you have the common misconception, someone who just, stops doing things, like giving up a secret fire ritual. But inside, they're still attached to worldly things. The Gita's point is that just physically dropping your actions isn't true renunciation if you haven't dropped the desire for them. And that is the huge takeaway from this first section. The real work, the real letting go, it all happens internally. It's not about what you do, it's about the mindset you bring to it. The battlefield isn't out there in the world, it's right inside your own mind. And if the real battle is internal, then the Gita gives us this absolutely incredible psychological insight. Our greatest weapon and our greatest obstacle are the exact same thing, our own self. I mean, this is one of the most empowering verses in the entire text. It puts all the responsibility for our own growth squarely on our own shoulders. No one else can save you. No one else can ruin you. Your own mind can either be your greatest friend, lifting you up, or your absolute worst enemy, dragging you down. So how does this actually play out? Well, the text doesn't just state the problem, it gives us the mechanics. The commentary here explains that it all comes down to whether or not we have conquered what it calls the lower self, that bundle of our impulses, our desires, and our attachments. And here's the breakdown. Your mind is your friend when you've mastered its impulses. You're calm, you're centered, and your happiness comes from the inside. But your mind becomes your enemy when it's basically a slave to that lower self, when it's constantly chasing money, status, and what other people think, trapping you in that endless cycle of craving and suffering. Okay, so if the goal is to conquer the self and make it our friend, how do we actually do that? The Gita doesn't just leave us with the theory, it provides a really detailed practical guide. And that brings us to the famous section on the practice of meditation. So let's start with the physical setup, which is laid out in verses 11 through 13. First, the place has to be clean and secluded. Second, the seat is incredibly specific, a firm base layered with special grass, a deerskin, and a cloth. And third, the posture, your body, head, and neck are held perfectly straight and still. The idea here is simple, right? A stable body helps create a stable mind. So, once the physical environment is set, the focus turns inward to the mental discipline. This is all about cultivating a very specific state of mind, calm and fearless. It means taming the wandering senses and focusing the mind with single-pointed concentration. This requires letting go of worldly desires, and it even gets into physical details, like keeping a steady gaze on the tip of your nose to stop your eyes from wandering. So after all this practice, performing action without attachment, and training the mind through meditation, what's the result? What's the final destination? Well, that brings us to the ultimate goal described in the chapter, a state of unshakable peace and supreme bliss. To describe the state of a perfectly controlled mind, the Gita gives us one of its most beautiful and famous metaphors, which you can see right here in the text of verse 19. Just think about that image for a second. A steady, unwavering flame. It's not being blown around by the winds of desire or fear or attachment. This is the mind of a yogi, resting peacefully and steadily in the self, totally free from the chaos of worldly thoughts. And what does this steady mind experience? The text calls it supreme bliss. Now, this isn't the kind of fleeting happiness you get from, buying something new or getting a promotion. It's a profound, infinite joy that comes from within and goes way beyond the senses. It's described as a state that's far more blissful than any worldly pleasure because it comes from directly realizing your true nature. And this right here is the ultimate promise. Once you've reached the state of supreme bliss, there is no higher prize to win. Nothing else even compares. A person established in this state is so stable, so deeply content, that they are not disturbed even by the greatest tragedy or sorrow the world could possibly throw at them. So we've come full circle. The answer to that initial question is crystal clear. The path isn't about running away from life. It's about engaging with life fully, but from a place of inner freedom, transforming every single action into a form of meditation, just by letting go of our attachment to the outcome. And this is what brings it all back to us right here, right now. This ancient wisdom isn't just philosophy. It's a practical challenge. So think about your own life. What are you attached to? Getting praise from your boss? The number of likes on your latest post? A very specific outcome for a project you're pouring your heart into? What's one fruit of action you could practice letting go of starting today?